Hey guys, my name is Sensor Turley. Welcome back to another track review. It's 2015 again, dude. What's up, my dude? Got us a little bit of JGSX, JGMX. I don't even know what this is. Shuffleboard track right here. So I've been wanting to get back into doing a little bit of MX Sim content. And what better way to start than taking her back to the good old days of a little bit of JG track review action here. So this is a pretty cool track here. Basically the definition of like the opposite of cookie cutter, on track design. This is kind of like an interesting, like a backyard, Supercross test track vibe type track right here, but it's got so many interesting little on-track sections to it, and I like this little sun flare effect. Kind of feels like you're getting snow blindness. It's pretty sick on this track. That would be cool on a specific space track that I have in my mind here, but yeah, I mean, it's the old JGMX track design. I mean, it's got that nice outside rut in pretty much every corner that you can grab, no matter how fast you're going. You can be fifth gear tapped out on a 450, and it's just big enough, and with the traction of this track, you can still grab it pretty much perfectly. This track does have a sandy vibe to it. That's what makes it kind of different. It's got that how some of those dudes in Supercross, they go and train on those gnarly, like rough, narrow backyard sandy vibe type tracks to get more training. Something about this track just kind of reminded me of that sort of track design right there. But yeah, dude, feels good to be back on the old MX Sim, man, and it's been a while. I took like pretty much the biggest break I've ever taken from making MX Sim content this past year here. So, but like I said, 2022 we're gonna get that going again. But yeah, this is also a perfect example of how you make a track that is small scaling, but still a shitload of fun and replayable and actually got some depth to it and, skill gap to it. A lot of times when you get tracks that are this small of scaling, they're just not as fun as this. And what makes this track like that is, even though it's smaller scaling, the way JGMX makes this shit, it makes it to where you can hit a bigger line. Even though it's smaller scaling and you're on a 450, you can hit a bigger line than what was really like intended to be hit, quote unquote. So this track's going to be fun for 250s. It's going to be fun for beginners. It's going to be fun for amateurs. It's going to be fun for pros. It's going to be fun for everybody. Come on down to the JGMX circuit here. Fun for everybody, kids. Get your tickets today. But for real, though, there's a lot of guys that get in here and make tracks in this game that are too small of scaling, but they're just not fun. They just don't have that replayability. They don't have that skill gap. They really limit, like, the jumps, the real kind of like jump skill gap and jump line option and things like that. It seems to get very, very limited on a lot of these guys that are making these one-to-one smaller scaling style tracks in this game. But that's not how this is. This is a perfect example of how you make, something that's more down that one-to-one realistic, scaling vein or whatever you want to call it, but yet it still has a ton of fun separating lines, like AKA that right there. You know what I mean? Obviously, that was not intended to be hit at all. I'm going to give the off-track a JGMX out of 10. Oh, man. It feels good to be back, man. Feels good to be back. But you can see this right here, very narrow. But that's okay on a track like this because there's no tough blocks. There's nothing that's making it feel super cramped down. It's not trying to be some perfectly replica Supercross track or anything like that. It's got a nice fall vibe to it. Bunch of different colored trees on the track. Got the mountains in the background. It's like just enough off track going on to keep you sort of, engaged in the realism of it. There's a lot of JGMX tracks that, let's just keep it real, the off track is about as basic as you will ever see on an MX simulator track, but this is what I would call, some of JGMX better work when it comes to off track right here. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, man, want to come in here and review a little track on MX Sim. This is definitely would be a very fun track for a beginner. Difficulty on this track is like easy. But again, if you get going 5th gear tapped out on a 450, you start hitting stuff, even like the little bit of roughness on some parts of this track, you're going to start hitting it where, like I say, it wasn't really even intended to be hit that way, which is going to it's going to create a certain level of skill gap when you start hitting stuff like that. You know, sometimes if you get a track so easy, it actually becomes skill gapped when you go faster on it because you're starting to hit everything in a weird way that it wasn't meant to be hit. So you're hitting like what's meant to be jump landings is jump faces, and you know you're hitting stuff so much harder, and it can kind of create that skill gap to it a little bit. But I mean, this is easy difficulty in the grand scheme of tracks in this game. You're not going to have trouble hitting the jumps on here. This is basically what I would call a hybrid track. This is kind of my pure definition of a hybrid. It's not a full-blown Supercross, and it's not a full-blown Motocross. It's kind of got that like local backyard hybrid-y style. I don't even really know if this track has an actual real classification to it, but very unique in that kind of sense, right? But yeah, plenty of roughness to keep you engaged. Plenty of outside ruts. Could there have been more inside ruts on this track? Probably so, but, you know, he's going for more of that super narrow, like I'm saying, backyard style track. So, you know, it's trying to be almost like a narrow trail style backyard, you know what I mean? It's trying to be that, so it ain't that big of a deal that it doesn't have, you know, 3 inside ruts in every corner. But yeah, I got a little barn action going on over here on the side. So that kind of pulls the track. That's what really give it that local track vibe to it. Let me back this up. Let me backtrack a little. You know, it's got that little sniper tower and shit, you know. Got some leaves on the ground. So yeah. Pretty cool. Little track in the hills right here, man. I'm going to give this thing a JGMX out of 10. Difficulty's easy. We'll be back on that next one. Pop off, Spency boy. There you go. There you go.